So today I want to share a little bit of Illuvium Zero gameplay. Now, if you followed my regular channel or even my gaming channel, you know that I'm bullish on Illuvium. I'm bullish on mini games, but Illuvium's one of the ones that's best set up to really crush it this coming bull market. And we saw Axie Infinity absolutely do amazing things last bull market, and it was a fantastic return on investment. Wasn't as much the type of gameplay that I like, though very many people like it, and they are continuing to develop it and make Axie better. I think Illuvium is positioning itself very, very well. Now, it says interview with Illuvium because that's the thumbnail I had. My thumbnail designer is in a totally different time zone, and I had a little bit of time, wanted to do a video on the gameplay, and I couldn't get a thumbnail turned around the time I wanted to be able to go ahead and do some live gameplay with everyone. So let me share with you a little bit about where I'm at. Now, there was a problem with my Illuvium Zero account in that I had too many plots. It couldn't load all of that. Remember, it is still in the beta, so I had to send a bunch of my plots to another account and to be able to play because it couldn't load it in. And so I had 22 total plots. I have sent a number of them over to another account, and so I'm going to show you some strategies. It does help when you have multiple plots because then you can continuously play it instead of sitting there and waiting on just one. So in here, you can see I don't do this one. This is the free one that they have, and I'm not interested in building out the free one so much as the ones I actually have. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 that I sent over from my other account. And they're not very far along. I've just had these a few days. I decided to go ahead and try it because the issue has not been resolved. And the Illuvium customer service team has been awesome. They've actually been working on that bug, but they don't have a lot of people that have so many plots in one account, and so it's not a common problem. Yes, I went a little bit crazy on buying Illuvium land. This isn't my first crypto cycle, and so yes, I put quite a bit of investment in it. I do have high hopes for this. So let me share you generally with you some things about how I think about. And so let me show you basically the layout. In here, you'll see I have a bunch of tier 1s, and I have sent over some tier 2s. So I've got 3 tier 2 accounts. I don't count this free one that acts like a tier 1, but it's a tier 2. But I've got 3 tier 2s, and that would mean probably 6 tier 1s in here. I do have a tier 3 that's in my other account. And so I think about them slightly differently. The tier 1s produce a little bit less resources for the time, have a little less than what the tier 2s have. The tier 2s are more productive for the same sites. And what I mean is, like, so loading in, so that just produced, kind of covered up because I leveled up. So that just produced 533, and that's a mine shaft level 3, right? Or 6,333. So this is a tier 2. Now, if I were to go a mine shaft level 3 on a tier 1, it's just not going to produce quite as much. And so let's see what I've got. Stage 3. So that produces 4,750. And so the efficiency on bull should be at 100%. So tier 1s don't produce quite as much. They don't have as many different sites. So on a tier 1, you're going to have 1, 2, 3 resource sites. So in this one, I've got carbon, and then I've got some silicone. Cool. You can see I've got my efficiency augmented a little bit here. That is what I try to do as I'm starting to build things out, is get more efficient and higher efficiency. And at some point, I'll have a lot of the things up to 150% efficiency. By locating the silicone silo next to the silicone mine, I also get higher efficiency, or I call this a silo. It's a photo disintegration plant, but essentially it's a converter. All right, so I'm going to schedule it to convert a little bit of water. Over time, I'm going to build out more of these power stations so that I don't lose so much. For example, I'm going to harvest some water here. I got 1,800, but you'll see the inputs that I put in there is 1,500. So I'm actually not only not gaining, I'm actually losing some silicone in order to generate water. But one of the ways I can fix that is I can put these closer and I can build more of these. Let's see if I've got room. Yeah, structure limit at 16 out of 30. So I've got room to build another one. I'll go ahead and kick that off. Once this is built, it's going to make this 109% effective and that 97%. In fact, once this is done, I'll probably pull it out of the road that's around it. Now, the reason I even go with the road around it is it does decrease the building time. So normally it takes 10 minutes. You can see, even though I just started, there's already 7 minutes and 7 seconds left. But as far as these power stations, once I use them, I don't continue to surround them by roads. There's no benefit to that because you can't upgrade them. Now, the other structures, I have roads around them because not only does that decrease the upgrade time, it also decreases the harvesting time. Okay, so like excavate. So it's only going to take 8 minutes. And while that's building, then I just move on to another plot. So, and I just go down the list here. So this is a tier 2 here. And go through, and I frequently show the stage so that I can use the time I have efficiently. Because in these early days, you're constantly just upgrading things like crazy. Okay, so I'm full on carbon and silicone. So on this tier 2 plot, I have 1, 2, 3 silicone producers. I have 1, 2 H2O, and I have 1. Now, do I have any? 1, 2. I might have 4. I have 4 silicone producers. And then I've got 2 H2Os. And so I'm producing, the only way that I'm producing carbon is through these. Let's see. And so I've got my engineering plant building there. So I can't build anything at present. All I can do is keep these resources going. And then obviously I need to upgrade more storage. And I built, so this is another decision point I usually make when I get to this place. And by the, I say usually because I went pretty heavy into this before the reset so I could figure out strategically how to go fast. So I've only had access to these a couple days. And this is where some of them are at. So I first tested out with 1. You'll see that one's far ahead of everything else. Then everything else is lagging behind. But you will see on this tier 2 that I've got 4 silicone, 2 water. So I'm going to have a problem with production of carbon. So one of the things I'm going to do is upgrade these early on. Once this finishes, I'm going to upgrade this to a tier 3. That's already a tier 3. Then I'm probably going to take it to level 4 so that I can make sure I can keep up with the carbon production that I'm going to need. As far as later on, I'm going to need, okay, so this is silicone. And it's good that I have so much silicone producing because these are going to take silicone if I'm remembering right. And these are going to take water. And so at least it's well balanced that I'm not going to need a lot of carbon once I'm upgrading some things because these are going to take silicone as inputs and this is going to take water once it's built out. All right, going to the next one. Let's take a look at where this is at. All right, I'm going to show my stage so I can just use the time more efficiently. So these are already at level 4s. And look around and see, okay, I'm producing carbon there, carbon, and silicone. So the mines I have are carbon, carbon, and silicone. And so the only way I get water is through here, these converters. And it is definitely time to upgrade these converters. Okay. And since I only have one silicone plant, I put another silicone converter next to it. It does get some efficiency bonus. So these things start out at 80% efficiency. Because it's so close to the silicone mine, it's got increased efficiency there. Right, and you'll see I've got my different silos here. I probably will, when the building's done, start a third carbon silo. I usually build out 3 carbon silos, then 2 of each of the others until a little bit later in the game. I can't remember if I ever end up building more than 3 of any of them. I don't remember if that becomes necessary sometimes. You might need 4 carbon matter silos at a certain point. Okay, so off to the next one. And then I want to jump into one that's just a little bit farther along and show you some strategy that really becomes handy setting up for a good later game, because there's definitely some choke points. And we'll talk about the choke point. Okay, let me look at the stage. Okay. So one of the downsides of, you can't really upgrade these early game until stage 4 because you need fuel in order to do it. And I'm not going to have fuel for at least a day on this. So I can take these to the next stage before fuel if I have the resources. But notice, to take this to level 4, I don't need any fuel on the converters. What I do need is more resources, specifically more silicone. Let's see, maybe I can kick off, that and move on to the next one. I'm actually going to jump down so you have a little bit better thing to look at. This is a little bit farther along. Now, this is a tier 1, but this is the first one that I sent over and was testing out the access to see if the access worked. So, and feel free, this is live, so if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. You'll see that I've already got this upgrade to level 4. What I do love about these converters, especially once you get the efficiency high, and you'll see I have a whole bunch of these with no roads specifically around these, pegged up as close to everything as I can so that I get high efficiency out of all 3 of these things. Now, these 3 things I can't take beyond level 3 until I get some fuel, but I did mess up. And so this was my fuel site that I have on my tier 1. And if you get it up to 150% efficiency, it will harvest not just 1 fuel, but 2. And I was doing something else at the time, and I kicked off both of these at the same time. So I used that Krypton fuel to get these working. And then what I normally would have done is upgraded this with one of them and then put the other one specifically in a Solon converter. Because on a Solon converter, if you put a bunch of these power plants around it and you get it to 150%, it should also generate, from one input, should generate 2 outputs. So for the 1 Krypton I put in, I should be getting 2 Solon in each of these. So when these are done, I'll have a total of 4 Solon. And then this is working on another 2 Krypton. So one of the things I can do is take one of the Solon, I can throw it into this Krypton converter and have that working on 2 Krypton while this is working on another one. I can move some Solon over to here, and then I'll have some Solon available to upgrade this to after I've also upgraded my Nexus. So that's the overall plan. So I stalled myself out a little bit because I should have thrown the Krypton into there, and I could have been upgrading my Nexus. So it's going to bottleneck a little bit, even when that Krypton gets done, just because, anyway, I broke my own plan, and I was just going through it really quick. All right, so this one's farther ahead, as you can see, and I've had this one just a couple days. It helped doing a lot of preliminary, like the phase 1 and just playing around with it earlier. You see it has problems. See the loading when it has lots of plots in one account. And so my other one still has even more of it. My other one has even more problems. So in this one, I've got the 9 plus the free one. And you can see the loading sometimes is a problem. There's some kind of memory thing. And this computer is a high-end computer, but probably as they're building, a lot of game developers usually come back and worry about efficiency a little bit later stage. And my guess is they're just not there yet. And there aren't enough people that have so many plots that are running into that problem that it's not the highest priority to fix yet. And I'm okay with that. I don't love it, but I just understand. And I want them to do the best things for the company first that will give them the biggest return and eventually get around to something like this. So clearly this impacts me, but I'm not certain how many other people it's impacting. And so they have to work on the issues that are impacting the most people by the most and prioritize those. So yeah, that's a little bit of a look at what it is. Let me show you a strategy that I do. Like one of the things on tier 1s that people, worry about is I did notice after they made a change that converters didn't work as well when they made that change. And so on tier 1s, it really made this in-between point really, really difficult to do. And so I can't super show you on this. I would have to delete some buildings in order to build some more. But you'll see I have 2 converters here. And let me show you, Okay, notice even after a resource is done baking, so this one has some stuff in it that you can move it around. So the stuff that's in it isn't actually, it's just, let me just show you. It's just this 2496 that's in here. So the efficiency isn't really going to change when I get that. But notice I can move this over here and then harvest it and then move it back. And if it weren't just the passive that it's generating, it would actually net me more harvest. Well, you can also do that with the fuel. So this is already going to be at 138%. And what this is going to do when I'm done harvesting is I'm just going to move these close to it so that I can get it all the way to 150% because I need this to pump out 2 Kryptons for the one thing that I put in it. Because otherwise I'm just trading straight across the board. I'm not gaining momentum. And one of the challenges with tier 1s is it's hard to gain that momentum because if I remember, if the numbers are still the same, when this goes to a tier 2 Krypton collider or level 2 Krypton collider, it'll take 2 Krypton in order to take to have it working, and it will only output 3 even at 150% efficiency. At level 3, you put 3 Krypton or anything but Krypton in, 3 of the other 2 fuels, so Solon or Hyperion, and you'll get 4 Krypton out. Okay, so you're still only gaining 1 for all the inputs that you're putting in. And it's not till you hit level 4 that at 150% efficiency will you get more than just 1 extra out. Level 4, you'll put, say, 4 Krypton in, and you'll get 6. If you put 4 Solon in, you'll get 6 Krypton out if it's at 150% efficiency. So that 150% efficiency is essential, but that also kind of gives you a drought between tier 1 all the way to tier 4, where you start getting 2 output for every input. And you know that these things, even if they're surrounded by a road, it takes 17 hours and 27 minutes in order to do this. So almost a day. It normally takes full 24 hours, but when you have the road around it, it shuts it down. It decreases the time. So you notice I have a road around these. I have a road around these. Now, one of the things I played around with last time was on my tier 1s, because you hit this middle period where you're just not getting enough fuel to be able to upgrade very quickly, is I actually put in a ton of these converters all in one area. And if I could put a little bit of road around them, I did, so it wouldn't quite take 24 hours. But then I would move them over to an area that had a bunch of power stations around it, and I would harvest them one by one. And what this helped me do was amplify my fuel during those early stages. Now, it was a real pain in the butt to go through and do that over and over and over again, especially with some multiple plots that I was trying it out with. But those early days are really, really hard until later you can upgrade to a level 4 and then 5 and then 6. And then it's just easier to have them far enough away with power stations around them so that you can also have a road around them. And so that every 17 and a half hours, they're kicking it out. And you still want to have, like, for example, this has 1 Krypton fuel site. And so I'll have probably 2 Krypton converters at least. I'll have a few Hyperion converters spread out longer term. And then I'll have a few Solon. I'll probably have 3 to 4 Solons, probably 4 Solons, 4 Hyperions, and 3 plus the fuel site of the Krypton ones. That'll be long term. Medium term, I'll probably have a bunch of different converters to help me through that medium period when I'm trying to use all the fuel to upgrade, say, my silos and my other storage things and my different. So all of these later on take fuel to upgrade to the higher levels. And also things like this, as well as you have to have enough resources coming in to be able to, like right now, it's still just kind of a practice session, other than you can do blueprints. And obviously this isn't quite far along enough to do blueprints, but I will do another video once I have that ready. And I will show you how, even on a tier 1, you can have multiple blueprints being searched for, even on a small tier 1 plot, and multiple of those, what are they that you found, the data points that you found, being able to be researched in order to try to pull blueprints out of them. You can have a lot of that going on at once, and I will show you that level of efficiency once these are closer to it. So I've got some catching up to do because everyone had a huge head start. My login hadn't worked for 3 months. I don't remember if it was like update, like the 4th or 5th update. It just couldn't log in anymore. And probably because they increased the quality of things, it just was then taking up too much memory in some folder or something. And that's what one of the devs who was working on the ticket item said. And they said that it would be fixed in the next patch, but it wasn't. And so I can say that their customer service and their support has been phenomenal, with great people that are working hard. I understand that it's just not the highest priority to fix this problem yet. And so I was able to find something so at least I can work and I can get some blueprints, because these blueprints are only going to be gettable through this closed beta, if I'm understanding correct. So maybe they're going to have some long-term value. And in the meantime, Illuvium Zero, it is pretty fun. It is pretty addicting. And so I'm liking where it's going because it gives me a good idea of where the gameplay is going for Illuvium. And that makes a better informed decision on what I think about investing in Illuvium. Understanding the gameplay. Is this interesting enough that people are going to use it? Is it interesting enough that people will focus? Some people will focus just on Illuvium Zero. And then other people focus mostly on Illuvium Overworld, with some people possibly playing both. And then, you know, maybe some people just playing the battle arena. I like how it's coming together with Illuvium, and I think the timelines are going to coincide well with the general market and where it's going up. And it's been great, the process that Illuvium has used in order to get some stuff out there so that they can have some people testing it during the alpha and now the beta stages. And essentially, if you have a piece of land, then you can play the beta for Illuvium Zero, which has been fantastic. So kudos to the team. Once again, I know it says interview on here. It's just because that's the Illuvium thumbnail I had. I do use a thumbnail designer because my design skills are terrible. And he is, you know, on the complete opposite time zone. And I found myself with an extra hour today. And I thought, you know, it's time that I bust out some Illuvium Zero walkthrough. And I'll show you more as this gets farther along. So it probably won't be for a couple of videos, but I am going to be doing more videos on the gaming side and show you where blockchain gaming is. Maybe a few traditional games throw in there. There's not a lot of traditional games that I play. I've added a few traditional games in just to see where gameplay is at. Like I played Call of Duty Warzone and Modern Warfare to see where first-person shooter games are going. It's interesting, and I like it. I can't say that I'm as addicted to that kind of gameplay as something that has more economics involved in it. Like one of my favorite games of all time was EVE Online, which is a space resource battle game where you might take a ship that might take, 600 hours to earn. And if it gets blown up, you could lose it like that. And so because time is money, you can lose some significant money when you die. Now, they've locked out any way to exchange the money, except on like some black market routes, which I didn't explore how that's happening. But the future of gaming is embracing that exchange of ownership and that exchange of value, like Axie Infinity. So games like Illuvium are embracing that, and that's going to bring real world money into these games like people can't imagine. And that's what has me excited about blockchain gaming. That's why I invest so heavily in it. That's why I'm taking the time to play some of these games and really learn about them to get a feel for what's going to do well. All right. Well, that's all I have for today, everyone. I've got this rap that I wrote just talking about the principles that I use for investing. This especially includes blockchain gaming, which I invest in pretty heavily because I do think blockchain gaming is going to bring about a huge transformation in the gaming sector where ownership is required, that players in the future are going to want ownership of their items. And ownership means that you can sell the items or you can trade them at your leisure whenever you want. So this little rap's for all of you just to reinforce these principles. Thanks.
Came into the space chasing all of the games, chasing the pumps and all of the hype trains. But like in life, right before you could, was told to buy when it was pouring like a rainmaker should. Buy when it's down, don't chase the boats that I missed. Cause I always made the time in mind. I take the one out cause I'm patient like that. And I'll wait for the right time. I sell when it's high, I buy when it's low. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm just a rainmaker running the show. Calculated investments, I don't leave with my heart. Principles are simple, to leave in a lot. Buy when it's boring, just gotta be smart. I sell when it's hype, like all the channels they pump it. That's when I was selling, got parabolic and dump it. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Makes the time fly by, years going so fast. The game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Time is never better, but time like the present. The next 5 years is a gift and it's feeling like heaven. I'm committed to learn, to study and to know that nothing comes easy, but with knowledge the game show. Sticking out this road can soon become a bear market. Learning and growing, and when it's slow will be the target. Naysayers come out, Bitcoin is dead. The massive decreases can get to your head. Sticking around, the time is better. I'm strong like that, I'll let the others be fretters. 2 years time, the ball will bring back the gains. That makes it worth the effort, cause here comes the rain. So let's go rainmakers, let's make it all happen. Let go of the hate, let the haters be crapping. I'm here for 5 years, let's do this together. The time is right, the time could be better. They call me rich, they call me smart. I'm a rainmaker, making my own start. I'm with the future, learning the past. Amazing time fly by, years going so fast. This game plan is mine, I'll own it now. When I reach the top, haters asking me how. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I'll follow what I learn, not relying on luck. Haters be hating, the time to slow down. Addressing what they say when I'm wearing my crown. They're chasing green candles like someone who was new. I got a vision that was bigger, helping me to push through. I'm still human and sometimes it is rough, and that's what makes me special, simply I stay tough. Cause I'm a rainmaker, investments I love. And I follow what I learn, not relying on